Hey friends, Gene Perry here with the Freehands Academy. I'm going to share some tips for your next flight with your Chapman Stick, whether you're traveling domestically or internationally, so buckle up and enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. Gene Perry here with the Freehands Academy. I was on vacation in Quito, Ecuador with the family, and recently simultaneously preparing to perform a 1-hour cocktail set for a wedding for just the most beautiful couple. It was very exciting. I'll be sure to post the follow-up gig report in 2 weeks, and for now, let's get started on traveling with your Chapman Stick. Before we get into traveling with the Chapman Stick, there are a few things to do and a few items to ensure are at the ready prior to your departure. Be sure to bring your truss adjustment wrench, as you may need to make adjustments to the truss to accommodate for changes in the action due to the possible expansion and contraction of the wood during the flight. The truss adjustment wrench is a custom tool, and you will be hard-pressed to find something like it that will allow you to make changes without having to remove the belt hook. Finally, you want to give 2 full twists on each string to loosen them up, as tension at high altitude can cause havoc on your action. Now, when traveling by plane with your stick, there are 2 important things to consider. The first being the size of your instrument and the type of case that you are using. I'll be using imperial measurement systems, but listing metric in the text below. To add some depth to what we're covering today, let's start with some general dimensions. So generally speaking, a common-sized carry-on bag is 22 by 14 by 9 inches, which means you will not be able to carry on your instrument. If you are using a smaller scale instrument like the Alto or the SG-12, you may be able to carry the instrument on board if you are okay with using a soft shell case, and the airline that you are traveling with calculates their requirements using linear dimensions. What are linear dimensions? This is done by adding the length, the width, and the height together. So I'll list the dimensions for the SG and the Alto below here. Now, based on the dimensions provided by Stick Enterprises, you'll see that there would be no issues with traveling with your Alto or SG-12. Virgin, Qantas, and Aeromexico are just a few that do that, but you'll always want to check with your airline at least 1 week in advance to validate that. It's a good idea to give yourself some time to be the last one to adjust or configure the other passengers' carry-ons to ensure that the instrument is not at an angle that would put it in harm's way. It's also better to stow the instrument behind your seat so no one towards the front of the plane wanders off with it while you're towards the back of the plane waiting behind a large line of people to exit the plane. Crazier things have happened, but it's just better to be safe with such a valuable instrument. While I would not recommend using anything but an ATA case from Stick Enterprises, I would recommend patting the inside of your soft shell case to soften any bumps along the way. I've cloaked my stick in my blue jeans and tied socks at 2-foot intervals to do exactly this, and in the few times that I was able to bring my instrument on board, no issues were encountered. Alaskan Airlines is the only airline that allowed me to bring my soft shell case on the plane, where they stowed it in a first-class closet. Now, I expected that in most cases, you'll be using a 34 or 36-inch scale instrument measuring about 40, and with the case measuring about 45 to 46 inches long for the 10 and 12-string instruments respectively. The ATA hardshell case for a 12-string stick will be 11 inches wide, 62 inches long, and the 10-string will be about a ½ inch less wide and about an inch shorter. For those of us with the more common 34 and 36-inch scale instruments, you'll most likely be checking your instrument. The most common maximum size luggage allowed is 62 linear inches, or roughly 27 by 21 by 14. Although in the years that I've been traveling with my Chapman Stick, no one has ever pulled out a measuring tape to true up the actual dimensions. In my most recent trip to Ecuador on Copa Airlines, my 12-string hardshell case was classified as oversized luggage, which meant that it was placed with the other oversized items in a special area at the destination airport because of the requirements that each airline has on the maximum size of what can be transported on their luggage conveyor belts. When you do touch down, you'll want to beeline to the oversized luggage area to get a quick read on the availability of your instrument and to keep it close till you get to your car or your Lyft or your taxi. When traveling with the hardshell case, remember that unlike the softshell carrying case, it does not have a shoulder strap. And that means that you will need to commit one of your hands to carrying the instrument in addition to any checked baggage or carry-ons that you have. This can be a problem if you have 2 checked bags and 2 carry-ons. You'll run out of hands really fast, so be sure to secure a cart to carry all of your things. It has been my experience that airlines will allow 2 checked bags, no more than 50 pounds, and 2 smaller carry-on items. While airlines are quite stringent about the weight of checked bags, I have never once had an airline check the weight of my carry-on, and my most recent trip to Ecuador on Copa Airlines was no exception. The maximum weight they listed was 22 pounds, but my carry-on, containing my Temple Audio solo board, which is 18 by 10 by about 2, did not present an issue. They didn't weigh it. As mentioned, there are no scales at the ticketing booth, so maybe a comment if you see otherwise. If you still have questions, I highly recommend getting some time on luggagepros.com, and for people that are traveling domestically in the U.S., definitely check out section 403 of the provisions of the final rule with regards to carriage of musical instruments. It is a fascinating read on domestic air travel and your instrument. Luggage Pros has a pretty solid setup. They have a site that lists all the different sizes and whether or not the airline uses linear dimensions for each of the airlines, for many of the airlines, at least 30 or 40 airlines. So a great resource. On a separate note, after having brought back Free Hands Friday after years of being away, I've added 7 new subscribers in the 2 weeks that I've been doing this and logged hundreds of hours of views, and I'm so grateful to you for inspiring me to continue to provide quality content for our Chapman Stick community, and hope that you enjoy watching these videos half as much as I enjoy making them. If you're so inclined, please comment below if there's a topic you want me to take on, or even a song you'd like me to cover to help you build out your stick repertoire. A week from this Friday, I'll be rolling up a video on performing at the cocktail hour at a wedding. I'll share some things to consider while planning the setup, and how to be at your best for a lucky couple's special day. And this Friday, which is the day after tomorrow, I'll be starting up a segment called But Does It Stick? And that will detail what specific hardware can be uniquely applied to instruments like the Chapman Stick that use 2 signal pads. This section will feature my thoughts on the DSM Humboldt DLX Simplifier preamp. And this is a genius little stereo 2-channel amp that has a few unique applications for the stick. I won't be trolling through the sounds so much as I'll show you some thoughts on how to configure it to use it as a first stage pre for both signal pads. I hope you'll tune in then, and until then, happy trails and take care.